So the video below went pretty viral. In 2 days, it's at 4.9 million views. So I think it's beneficial for me to play it and then give you my perspective on it. So let's take a look. So I want to break down the dogfight video kind of in my perspective and basically give some intimate details about what surrounded the situation. So that Cane Corso, he came to me when he was about 6 months old for his basic obedience program. He flourished. He did really good. He's super obedient, smart dog. Upon going back to the owners, they maintained his behaviors. They take him out often. He goes to restaurants, dinners, green markets, out on their boat fishing. A pretty good dog. Now, this dog came to me when he was 6 months old, and obviously he'll be 2 in a few months. So a lot of dogs, they mature and change. This dog has frequently come back. The owners go out of town. They constantly board him with me when they're out of town. He's been integrated with other dogs, never had an issue, no problems at all. So today, in the video that you saw, was different than no other day. My wife is out in the backyard, I'm home just seconds away, and she lets the dogs have a social hour, run and romp, and have freedom and be dogs. Absolutely, those dogs aren't running in a pack when I'm not home because she's not a dog trainer. She's a dog lover. We own multiple dogs, but she whatsoever doesn't understand dog behavior in a deep theory aspect of it. She doesn't have the intuition like a professional dog trainer does. And she's just not comfortable managing multiple dogs. God forbid something occurred like it did. So those situations never occur when I'm not home. With that being said, a little breakdown of the situation. So my wife is on the back patio, enjoying the Florida sun, scrolling on her phone. The Corso is off to her left, and just prior to where the surveillance video started, she was playing with him and petting him and giving him affection. Our personal golden retriever, who's a rock solid dog, never been confrontational, doesn't have any thought of trying to be an alpha by any means, sees my wife interacting with that dog, bebops over, and wants to socialize as well. As Rebel, the golden, is approaching my wife, you can see the Corso immediately turn and intercept him en route to my wife, which I perceive solely as a dominance, human resource guarding behavior. Right then and there, the Corso grabs the golden, takes him to the ground, thrashes him, and within seconds, I'm outside. Now, there's a lot of hate and diabolical comments about my wife and what she did. You got to understand, she's not a dog trainer, she's a dog lover. Most pet owners don't know what they would do in that situation, and she did the best that she could. She screamed and hollered to get my attention to come outside. A few little details that, some of these people, they're probably not worthy of knowing, but my wife, we have a 6-month-old baby, she's breastfeeding. She's thinking beyond herself because, God forbid, she was severely injured in that, and she has to go to the hospital. Who knows the unforeseeable? She can't provide milk for my baby who needs it as sustenance to live. So there's a lot of things running through her mind when that's occurring. Obviously, she's overwhelmed with panic because that golden retriever was her wedding gift that I gave her 4 years ago. It was our first child before we had our own. So the love there, the bond there, the fear, the desperation, that was all coming out in an audible tone in her voice. Fortunately, I was just inside the patio door shoving turkey down my throat because it was lunchtime, and I come busting through the doors. Now, I immediately sized up the situation. I knew exactly what was occurring. I can see the dominant behavior of the Corso above and over the golden retriever. I was there in a flash, obviously a lot of adrenaline, but I'm very used to dealing with violent dogs and violent humans, all right? being a law enforcement officer, you kind of become desensitized to it and you just act. And we're the ones that run towards the gunfire, where a lot of the assholes in the comments, probably not so much. So it was really just another day, another dollar for me. I run in, I fixate on grabbing control of the head of the dog. When you control the head, you control the body. I pick him up, I remove him from the situation. Obviously the Golden wasn't pursuing after that, and no harm, no foul. I take control of the situation. The Golden did receive a few punctures, nothing catastrophic. We did have him checked out by a vet, but very fortunately, he's got a huge, Fabio mane, and I think that was his saving grace. The Corso wasn't able to get any meat or cause a lot of damage, just one puncture in the neck and one in the top of the head. God forbid it was my Labrador, who's much more muscular, doesn't have flabby skin. I think it could have been a much uglier situation. And I touched briefly on dog maturity. So why do I think this occurred? So the Corso, like I said earlier, he's approaching 2 years old. He's no longer a puppy, right? Just as adults change emotionally and behaviorally as we mature, so do dogs. He's got a big set of balls that's producing a lot of testosterone. He's no longer thinking like a puppy. He thought, now's the time where I'm going to take control because I don't want this other dog approaching my human at that time. That's my perception on it. I didn't see any other body language or cues leading up to it that made me think that this was about to occur. I've never seen that. It's usually happy-go-lucky situation with all these dogs out there when they're romping around. I immediately called the owners and I told them the situation. I shared the same video with them and I told them, I am happy this occurred now and here. God forbid you were out at a green market or at a park with your grandchild and another dog approaches. You aren't skilled to mitigate the situation in the moment as swiftly as that. Now that we know that that's a possibility with this dog, and not saying that it's never a possibility, but the fact that he acted on it in a training environment with me there spoke volumes, right? So kind of a wake-up call for the owners, like, hey, keep this in mind, this type of picture scenario, what the possibilities are. Do I think he's a bad dog? Absolutely not. They're dogs. They don't reason like humans. And a lot of the scumbags in the comments think they do. I don't get it. Maybe it's because you only are keyboard warriors and the act of typing out what you think you would do makes you feel good. Whatever the case may be. They're dogs, they have emotions, they have hormones, and they act. Dogs don't lie, they're very black and white. So again, I was super happy that it happened here. It was able to put the owners on check, be like, hey, this is what happened. They got to see it in real live time. They also got to see me mitigate it swiftly without causing any injury. Now, granted, I've been bit a ton of times. Working with police canines, it happens quite often, and it's usually accidental or redirection. A redirection bite in a dog fight can also occur because there's a lot of emotion, and when you remove a dog from a violent situation, they want to bite whatever they can. Fortunately, I was able to control both sides of the head, and that wasn't the case. And knowing what I know and seeing what I've seen, I'm very happy my wife responded the way that she did. I wouldn't have expected anything else, all right? I wouldn't want to have to worry about saving my wife's life and my dog's life. So she did the best that she could, knowing that I was home. Would she have ever done that when I was there? Never. It's not the way it rolls. But with that being said, I think a lot of you need to do some soul searching with some of the horrific comments you said, about my wife getting raped, she should die, useless whale, stuff like that. And we're going to address those in another video. But with that being said, that's my take on it as a professional trainer. I think I was lucky not to get bit, but the swift action, there was no second thought. I knew exactly where I was going, what I was targeting, what I was doing. I did it, I executed, and we moved on. Sometimes when you fucking beat around the bush and you give the opportunity of thought, that's where bad shit happens and you could have get nuked. With that being said, I think it was a great educational video for dog owners and for other trainers. Listen, this shit happens in the dog training world. I think a lot of it just isn't captured or as clear cut as that was. With that being said, I really appreciate everybody's love that reached out afterwards, and I'll see you on the next one.